This video is going to be on how fasting changed my attitude toward drugs and medication. First off, I'm not telling you to quit taking your medication. Don't quote me on that. Don't say, well, Joe said to quit taking medication. By the way, I get emails from people who think I'm a doctor. way time out here. I'm not a doctor. I do. I get emails about 3 a week, and people say, hey, Dr. Joe, can I come in your practice or something like that? I'm like, I've tried to make it abundantly clear. I'm not a doctor, but if there's any confusion on there, this is kind of me telling you in so many words and spending 30 seconds, 45 seconds here telling you I'm not a doctor. But here's the fact of the matter. When you go to the doctor, our system has taught that the best thing you can do is get drugs. That's the pharmaceutical industry. And one of the flaws with my earlier videos is that I did not address this properly. I did not address this like I'm addressing it now. I'm pretty much close to anti-vax, anti-medication, anti-doctor. I'm not completely going to say that that's the right move for you, but I know that I will not be taking any antibiotics. I will not be taking any medications. I will not be taking vaccines anymore. If they come out with a COVID vaccine, I'm not taking it. I can promise you that. I recommend you do the same, but I invite you to make your decision. One of the problems with vaccines is that generally they're safe, but a lot of people have reactions. And one of the pro-vax people arguments is, well, look at Dr. Jonas Salk and the polio vaccine. It worked out so well. Where would the world be? That they don't know about the Miller incidents in 1955. You can look these up where 5 people died, 50 people were injured in the first inventions of the vaccine. You see, vaccines come with time and a lot of peer-reviewed research and a whole bunch of trial and error. So if you go back and you look up the situation in 1955, before the vaccine, the final Dr. Jonas Salk vaccine was released that did work, it was a disaster. Like it ended up giving people permanent all sorts of issues. And I'm not here to talk about that today. That's a footnote. But my point is, you need to make that decision for yourself. Me, I was just in the hospital with to remove a cyst that was to the right of my belly button. And I took it, they took it out. It wasn't a big problem. It was just things the body couldn't digest, couldn't get rid of from years of being alive. So they took it out. It was minor surgery. But I got pissed at the guy who was there, and I told the guy, the anesthesiologist, why did you keep moving up my surgery? At 12:45, it got moved to 1:45, it got moved to 2:45, and it was like 4 o'clock before they got to me. And they said, oh, I'm sorry, you are unlike anybody in this building because you don't take any meds. And your blood levels are perfect. Everybody else, there's a lady, this lady takes 5 meds, we had a complication, we had to move her up. We appreciate your understanding. I'm like, oh, in that case, that's pretty cool. I felt good then. So I was like, don't worry about it. Go ahead and do what you got to do. And then they came and they cut on me and they sent me home. But it was a reminder that of this topic. What they ended up doing was they ended up putting a little bit of antibiotic in my IV. I'll never let them do it again. My body does not like antibiotics. It made me feel like I had heartburn. It made me feel like a different individual because my body is more than capable of taking care of itself. So the point with this, you have to be in a situation where you're not a victim. And here's where this video is going. Our entire society teaches you to be a victim. It teaches you to be, to say you're a repressed class, and that's why we're having the political nonsense today that we're facing, the war that we're in, is because people have been taught that they are victims, that there's nothing they can do, that they're just weak and sickly little individuals. Your doctor is no different. When I was a big guy, I was briefly addicted to Vicodin in 2006 because since 1998, I started to gain weight. This left foot started to have really bad plantar fasciitis. And as a result, I had nerve pains. I ended up taking Lyrica to recover from the surgery. I was out of work 4 months. I was staying at home. I felt terrible. I would eat a 12-pack of tacos. I would wash that down with 4 beers and a Vicodin. Horrible for your liver. But pain relievers, prescription pain relievers are a thorn in the side of humanity. If, by the way, I mentioned Vicodin right there and you light up, you go, ooh, yeah, that's a bad sign. That's a really bad sign. You should not want to be numbed out. You should not want to be high. And that's why people who are otherwise not junkies not scrabby-doo looking types. They're normal looking people that hold down normal jobs. They get addicted because doctors are prescribing this stuff willy-nilly. They're prescribing it like crazy. And in fact, if you put in drug-seeking behaviors and then doctor in your Google search, you'll find that there are a lot of courses that doctors have to sign up for now because people have raised awareness to the fact that these freaking idiot doctors are giving Vicodin and Percocet to people with headaches. And that's why if you go to try to get Vicodin today, it's a lot harder. They've had to make it harder because you have housewives and moms and 30-year-old accountants from Nevada getting addicted over stupid stuff. Everybody's taught to be a victim today. And the things that I've taught you on this channel are how to not be a victim, how to not be a sheeple. The same thing that applies to controlling yourself with your food applies to controlling yourself with drugs and alcohol, sex, gambling, you name it. It's the same principles. For those of you who are younger viewers, you're around people who are doing drugs. You're around kids that smoke bowls and, do all this pot and all this. Listen, it is dangerous long term. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't. It does, over the course of 5 to 20 years, lessen your response time to questions. My family and I, anytime we go and we pull into like a drive-through or something, we can tell the stupid kid there's smoking pot. We can tell because their response time, they look like a fish. It's obvious to others. But if you're doing that, there is never a better time to quit and to use the skills you've learned on OMAD to better yourself. When I got done with my surgery and I was out those 4 months, I was sitting at home taking Vicodin, taking Darvocet, and taking Lyrica. He gave me, I still have it in there, right in that kitchen, tucked away in an old Ben and Jerry's ice cream plastic container are those old Vicodins that I never took. This foot was so bad, I ended up taking Lyrica, which makes you feel drunk, makes you feel hungover. It's for car accident victims because I kept having nerve pains. Well, one day when I was with Michaela, she was 2, and she wanted to go feed the ducks. I took just one pain reliever, and I said, I'm going to try to go out and just for a change of pace. I was so depressed being in the house and just laying there and not being able to move. But I made myself do it. I put my foot on the ground. It hurt a little. But when we got out to the sunlight and we got to feed these ducks and I got to see Kayla giving these little broken off pieces of crackers to these ducks, it lit me up because for those 3 hours, I forgot that I was in pain. And I had aspirations outside of myself again. That, from there on, what I started to do was I would say, hey, I'm going to see how long I can go before I need to take another pain pill. How long can I go? And then I would eventually go a couple days. And then I would start taking, okay, well, I'm only going to take Darvocet today, less than Vicodin. And then pretty soon, it got to the time I ended up going OMAD and losing the weight. As soon as I did that, my perspective changed because now I was on the winning team. I wasn't Dr. House anymore. I was Wolverine who could heal fast. My affections changed. I was like that cool blonde-haired villain on Passenger 57 who says, there will be no pain.
There will be no pain.
I was the guy who was on the winning team. And it hit me. That's the problem with the world. We've stopped saying, we got this. I've got this. I'm going to be just fine. And we've started saying, oh, you poor baby. It's like watching my 5-year-old niece around with my mother. Little Elena comes over, and if she falls or gets hurt playing, my mother will go, oh my God, like an old lady. And Elena will start crying. But if I'm there, I'll be like, oh, you'll be fine. She'll get up. She'll look at me. And I'll be like, you're okay. Let me see. Oh, you didn't even hurt your lip. Go ahead, go play. She'll go right back to playing. She won't cry. The expectation you put on yourself, just like with children, is the same way. You won't be in pain for long. If I wake up with a headache, which is rare, I'll just go and walk. I don't take Motrin or I don't take anything. I just go and I might do a quick heavy overhead press or something to get my mind off of the fact that I don't feel really good right now. And lo and behold, within 2 hours or so, maybe 3, the headache is gone. I don't feel bad anymore because I set the expectation for me as a winner. I set the expectation of someone who is superior, who has the genetics to handle it, who has the ability to handle it. The power of that is that you learn to get well mentally. And this is what, when I study Roman doctors, folks, go back and look at the Greek physicians and Roman doctors. You think that these guys are primitive idiots. They're not. They have as good a results as they do doctors today with the help of medicine. They had no anesthesia. And yet, what did they do? They taught people how to heal themselves. Because when you went to a Roman doctor, they would lay you out under the sunlight. And they would immediately engage you and talk about the other things in your life that were important to you. And they would tie in your getting well with going back to doing that. They didn't do like today, cold white-walled room with pictures of some stupid forest and no windows, and it's freezing, and then they tell you, yeah, I've got to prescribe you this, I've got to prescribe you that. When I got my blood pressure back down from 179 over 112 to 136 over like 76, I was so amazed at that. But the doctor said, you still want some meds? I'm like, no, I've got it figured out. I have seen this happen so many times. And this year, in addition to being a terrible year for the world, is a terrible year for my family, because back on February 5th, I lost a sister, overdose. Her drug of choice was heroin, but she started out with prescription drugs. Clonazepam, Vicodin, Percocet, all of these horrible drugs, and a pharmacy near my house would sell them to her because she would use our deceased grandmother's name, Darla, and she would go up and say, hi, I'm Darla. I'm here to pick up my Percocet and my clonazepam. And they would give it to her. And even after we called and we reported that the person trying to get that medication was not the person it was intended for, and that Darla was deceased, they still took no action. We were beyond ourselves. And this went on for a while. We reported them to the authorities because they weren't giving due diligence on this matter. I really don't know what from there happened, but they had a representative contact us and say it won't be an issue. Well, the damage was done. My sister ultimately made the decision to take her life. With drug addicts, it is so deeply rooted, but don't think of the Scrabby-Doo type of drug addict. Think of anybody who holds down a job as an accountant somewhere. It starts with prescription meds. It starts with alcohol. You will never be a better person from alcohol. You will never be a better person with any mind-altering substance. I'm giving you wisdom here. Do not ever think that you need to hold on to any intoxicating beverage. Glass of wine with your spaghetti at dinner, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't go even beyond that at all. You'll be worse off in every way. You should not want to modify your mind, because the thing that should drive you, that should stimulate you, that should get you unstuck is your perspective. I hope that is something that you can understand and respect, and understand that if you're a victim and you don't want to get well, then you'll never get well. That's why people doctor shop. That's why people file frivolous complaints against medical people who won't give them drugs. That's why this is such an epidemic, and the pharmaceutical industry is killing people with these stupid drugs, the symptoms of which are worse than the disease. We've all seen those dumb commercials where it could cause death, could cause nosebleeds, could cause severe life-threatening anemia, could cause this or that. And then you're like, why should I take this? Because people love the attention. They love to feel like victims. Be on the winning team. Once you're on the winning team and you realize you've reclaimed your health and your self-control, it feels good to want to not go on meds. To feel like you have the genetics and the constitution of a Vulcan and you can keep yourself going. You've shifted your focus from being a victim to being a winner. I don't claim to be a positive person. I don't smile very often. I don't watch shows where everybody exhibits a positive attitude, but I'm going to give you one right here. Real positivity comes from the fact that you choose to be a winner, not a loser. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.